So going back then to what happened after the Archdiocese dropped their lawsuit, you began doing more advocacy, and here you are today, and it's a few years later, and actually you and I exchanged comments on a Facebook comment that I'd put out, and you offered to speak with me.
Yeah.
And so you remain on your mission, and tell me where your mission is right now. How is it different or evolved? Or
well, after the law got changed and we were able to compromise on a bill with integrity.
So the statute of limitations was changed.
It was. There was a 3-year window opened up for anybody that was abused prior to, I believe, August of 2013.
Okay.
That they could come back and enter their case. And going forward, there is no more statute of
There's no statute of limitations at all.
So I feel like I
So you
got quite a
achieved
victory.
Huge victory.
Yeah, because I think that the church knowing I'm going to back up a little bit. There are several memos where high-ranking church officials will ask, when does the statute end? When is the statute of limitations up on this case? And you can tell that part of their mentality of protection was, we'll just kind of play it out.
Sure, sure.
Now they don't have that.
We will stall, perhaps, you know,
Yeah,
and their lawyers would be advising this.
Absolutely. So now we have a situation where they don't have that card anymore.
Right.
So hopefully that'll help push some things.
My comment or my status update on Facebook was inspired by an awful lot of activity around this. There's been in the media, you know, it's October, I think, starting in September, there was a few days there, or maybe a week or so, where every day the front page of the newspaper was dealing with changes. And this is enormous, because since then there has been 3 archdiocesan leaders who have resigned and resigned positions, not necessarily their entire role, but one is Archbishop Flynn, who would have been involved.
He was involved in my case.
In your case. The other, he resigned from St. Thomas University Board. Father Kevin McDonough resigned also from a board, and there was an actual employee of the Archdiocese who resigned from the Archdiocese, from working with the Archdiocese. So how did that kind of affect you, and do you think that has to do with some of the changes that you were able to make?
It always makes me think about things again. Whenever I see it on the thing, because now people know me, so I'll get a lot of text and Facebook of, hey, did you happen to see, you know, thinking about you. You know, my son called me one night and he's like, Dad, I know you're out with Mom, but it's on the news again. I was just thinking about you. So I get sad that he wonders and questions.
He identifies
is my dad okay?
as, yeah.
You know, so that part of things good. But I do think it has to do with some of the work we did, because I don't know any of the history of the current cases that just, I think he's put out 2 or 3 in the recent weeks. I don't know if those historically wouldn't have been
so yeah, but the question is, and this really goes to your efforts. I mean, it seems to me that when you're doing the work that you've been doing for some years now, you're not always clear what the you know what you want the outcomes to be, and in some cases, some ways, certainly the statute of limitations was a good outcome for you, but you can't always nail down exactly what your work has achieved.
And yes, no, you can't.
And yet, it's hard to believe that it didn't have something to do with this.
I think I impacted it. You know, I certainly had. I think my case had an influence. I think any time there's a voice put to this, somebody has to be thinking.
And your case, again, was the first one to ask for the names, and that is specifically what is out right now on the table.
Yes, exactly, because then we have total transparency. Then we know, you know, if you drop your child off at the next Catholic event, how are you to know that one of those priests isn't there? You don't know. They know. And I just don't see how that's good for anybody.
Right. You've heard nothing from the Archdiocese at all?
Never. Since, no.
And did you know any of the recent Father McDonough or Archbishop Flynn?
By reading documents. Archbishop.
Were you surprised by either of those?
No. I think it's been a long time coming that they needed to step down. But in their stepping down, whoever replaces them really needs to kind of take their game to a new level and make some things happen.
And just to clarify, they didn't step down from their archdiocese. Their archdiocese positions, I don't believe, but it was boards. It was more sort of connected boards, but
Yeah.
not directly with the Archdiocese.
Right, that's my understanding.
They are
also.
still both, well, I take that back. Flynn has retired
Yeah, he's in upstate New York. or
some
something, right?
years ago,
Yeah.
and Kevin McDonough is still involved with the
Yeah.
Archdiocese.
So-
And both beloved leaders.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a complex issue.
It is, and you know, and to me, I keep going back, the easy answer is our society already has a system for pedophiles.
Right, right,
Place your pedophiles in the system
right.
and
right.
let it go.
Right.
And without shame. I mean, if your parish has a priest who chooses to engage in that, the minute you find out, you call the local authorities,
Right.
he's removed and processed as any other citizen would be.
As he would be perhaps if he had a serious mental illness or,
Right.
or
Or if he
an
worked at any
alcoholic
other
or
job.
any other job.
Yeah.
Right. This is not punitive in the way of shame. It's more protective of
Right.
both the priest and
And
certainly children and their
Exactly.
communities.
So I get confused why we have to watch the church try to go through this process of creating all these channels of processes. We have one. In my company, if one of my therapists is accused of this, I have a process.
Right.
Your service with me stops, and I call Detective so-and-so and say, here they are, here's the information.
And herein lies the difference and the importance of your civic engagement. You couldn't make any progress with the
Right.
Archdiocese is two archdioceses, right?
Correct.
And the courts were a mixed bag for you. So only really when you went to the legislators did you really get some concrete changes.
Right. And now we can see cases go through the system, and I can come out and talk with people like you and whomever else wants to listen.